I want to thank our reader and Karen Drucker, Gary Lynn Floyd, and the Chariot Duo, as well as our CS Music team for the wonderful music that supports the message today. As we continue our journey through Living Untethered, we concentrate today on Part 6, The Human Predicament and Beyond, which includes chapters 26 through 29. The Human Predicament, the Paradigm Shift, Working with the Heart, and Neither Suppression nor Expression. In this part of the book, Singer provides a deeper understanding of going beyond the human predicament and experiencing a deeper sense of peace and fulfillment by recognizing that our answers are not in the world, yet rather within us. But first, let me give you your question for the week. What is that one choice you might make today to know that problems are solved from within? To be at peace with your entire heart orchestra and to allow your heart to do the purification work. One more time. What is that one choice you can make today to know problems are solved from within, to be at peace with your entire heart orchestra, and to allow your heart to do the purification work? Singer reminds us that the human predicament is about having beautiful moments as well as those moments that we hope are over quite quickly. Happiness and sorrow are part of life, right? Singer puts our predicament this way. You're in there, you're not okay in there, and you have developed concepts of how everything needs to be for you to be okay in there. He even warns us if we're not careful, we can spend all our life trying to be okay. And he further writes, eventually, we wake up and realize that compensating for what's wrong is not good enough. We must solve the root cause of why we are not okay. If we want to live an untethered life, we strive to let go of those times in which we suffer. And I love that we were reminded in our talk on the heart that it's truly an inside job. And this week, Singer emphasizes that by writing, there is a state within you that is always filled with love and a state of happiness. Yogananda called it ever new joy. It's not a joy you get tired of. It's a constantly upward flowing new experience of beauty. Oh, of course you would know that I wasn't going to let that opportunity to talk about ever new joy pass me by. The truth is, this state within us is the solution to our every problem. Go within and find the love and the ever new joy and live from that place. I can almost hear your mind saying, yeah, right, like that's going to happen when I'm having a bad day or when something really tragic has happened in my life. Well, you're probably right. It is a lot more difficult to find joy when we're experiencing hurt or anger or suffering of some type. And we have to interact with the world. We have to be in this world, even though we don't have to be of it. It's time for us to recognize that the world on the outside is not going to solve our problems on the inside. And when we think we're not okay, that's precisely the time to rely on ever new joy. You know, Einstein said one time, you cannot solve a problem with the same mind that created it. Now, he was one of the greatest minds in the world, and he wasn't advising us to give up when we encounter a roadblock. Although giving up and indulging in something that makes you feel better can be awfully tempting and sometimes helpful, the truth is, Einstein was saying that if we want to solve a problem, you first have to see it with clarity. And Singer has been offering us clarity, the clarity that our suffering comes from blockages that we are holding on to rather than releasing. There was a reading this week in our Joyous Abundance Journal, the one that we use every day for Start Your Day with Prayer and End Your Day with Prayer. And it was called Understanding Tomatoes. The reading noted that when we plant tomatoes and they don't grow properly, we don't blame the tomatoes. We look for the reason that they're not growing properly. Maybe it's the soil, maybe they're not getting enough sun, or maybe they're not getting enough water, or too much water. The point is, we don't blame the tomatoes. Yet what we do when we're not living life and experiencing that ever new joy, we blame somebody or we blame ourselves. Imagine your life if you noticed what brought on the hurt or the anger or the pain and looked at what it triggered within you, looked at the root cause of it. Then you would have something you could work with, something you could look at with more clarity so that you might actually go about resolving it. Imagine that. What a great way to live life. You know, lesson 160 in A Course in Miracles is, I am at home, fear is a stranger here. And it goes on to state, fear is a stranger to the ways of love. Identify with fear, and you will be a stranger to yourself, and thus you are unknown to you. I think those few lines are a great summary of what Singer says we've been holding on to, those samskaras that we have identified as blockages and lost ourselves in with anger or hurt or suffering. We become unknown to that joy that is part of who we are, and we lose sight of all the beauty that constantly surrounds us. Look at this beauty, these trees, the nature. It's everywhere we look right now, especially because it's spring. So what needs to happen for us to truly live in that ever new joy and let go of that suffering? Singer invited us in this section to try an experiment, and I want you to do it right now. In your mind, think of 3 things that would have to happen for you to be able to live in ever new joy. Now, what do those things represent to you? If you wanted a new car or a new house, what would that bring you? Safety, freedom. If you wanted more money, what would that bring you? Security, liberation. Most of the true gurus and master teachers have told us that what we think we want is all based on what made us happy in the past. We take our present situation and ask for the things that brought us comfort or love in the past. In reality and in truth, what we're looking for is to love and be loved. Singer writes this, once love is flowing freely inside of you, you will be pleased to share it with another person. Such love is not based on needs or expectations. It's based on pure love, wishing to express itself unconditionally. And if you read this section of the book, you know to reach this state of love being expressed, that love that's not based on needs or expectations, but a love that's unconditional, without requirements. We have to let go of our blockages. We need to release those samskaras that we're hanging on to. And when we do that, we realize that choosing that ever new joy is indeed a choice. Lesson 190 in A Course in Miracle reminds us to choose joy rather than pain. The lesson states this, I choose the joy of God instead of pain. And it states, it's not your thoughts alone that cause you pain. Nothing external to your mind can hurt or injure you in any way. Nothing external to your mind can hurt or injure you in any way. That's quite a statement. Imagine what life would be like if you had no memories from your past and you were just experiencing what was happening right here and right now. Without those memories, nothing external to your mind would exist. Have you ever noticed how children are able to do that, just be in the now of life? They get hurt or upset, and a few minutes later they're giggling and having a great time. They live in the present moment. And in that thou moment, they choose joy and choose to let go of anything that was not showing up for them as joy or as love. And that's precisely what we have to learn to do. Learn to be more like children. Be unencumbered by the things that we've experienced in the past and truly just live in the now. In the chapter Working with the Heart, Singer tells us this: we interact with life every waking moment of our time on earth. If we are committed to growing spiritually, we must learn to use that interaction to clear out our blockages. This inevitably returns us to the heart, since we store blockages there. I know the reason you're here today is, at least in part, that you want to grow spiritually. So let's talk about how to interact with life and allow every interaction to help us release our samskaras. Singer likens the heart to an orchestra that can play all types of notes and can bring you to ecstasy or into sadness. The way we handle that orchestra depends upon our level of spirituality. As we grow spiritually, it becomes easier to handle all the emotions that pass through our hearts and be okay with them. And yes, once again, I admit it's a lot easier said than done. So how do we come to peace with the expressions of our heart? Singer calls it a paradigm shift. Every single moment of your life, you are either naturally enjoying what is or letting go of what's keeping you from enjoying what is. Let me repeat that sentence because it's very important. Every single moment of your life, you are either naturally enjoying what is or letting go of what's keeping you from enjoying what is. If you let go of the wants and fears that are limiting you, you'll always be okay. Letting go of yourself instead of serving yourself is the real paradigm shift. Letting go of yourself is Singer's way of saying to let go of your past and of all those stories about the past that you keep telling everybody. Ditch those things that you keep saying because you're hanging on to the false beliefs that you picked up, perhaps even decades ago. Learn to live in what is right here and right now. I love that analogy of our heart being like an orchestra for so many reasons. Orchestras are made up of many different instruments and sounds, and when they all work together, the music is absolutely amazing. Yet think about going to a concert and listening to the orchestra tune up. It's a bunch of out-of-sync sounds and often can sound terrible to the ears. And yet, when they begin to play as one, there is a delightful sound that is full of connection and harmony. And when I attend concerts, I readily admit there still might be parts of the performance that are not my favorite. Like the orchestra, our hearts can go from that harmony to deep sadness when we're not in sync. When we're not in sync with our hearts, we're carrying our emotions and needing a tune-up. As Singer put it, It, meaning the heart, can raise you to heights where you feel like angel wings are carrying you to heaven. And it can bring you down to your darkest hour. Our job is to control the heart so that it plays those sounds that bring us joy. And when it plays other sounds, we just learn to accept them. This means living in gratitude for all the sounds our heart brings. And when we learn to notice those sounds of discord from fear or anger or insecurity and accept that they're just part of our life experience, part of the symphony that we've come here to attend, we find it easier to let go of those blockages and release them permanently. Singer says, every experience makes you a greater person if you don't resist it. And of course, you're familiar with that line in our philosophy, what you resist persists. So rather than resisting, why not try to let go and be that greater person that you came here to be? Come to peace with all the instruments in your orchestra, with all the emotions and all the experiences, and see them as lessons you might learn about yourselves or about others. Once upon a time, a Chinese general wanted to change the world. But before he changed the world, he realized that he needed to change his country. And he knew that if he needed to change his country, that would make an impact on changing the world. But before he could change his country, he realized he needed to change his province. He knew that if he changed his province, that would impact his country and would in turn have an impact on the world. But before he could change his province, he realized he needed to change his village. He knew that if he changed his village, that would have an impact on changing its province, that in turn would have an impact on changing the country, and ultimately have an impact on changing the world. Soon, he realized that before he could change his village, he needed to change his family. For he knew that if he changed his family, that would have an impact on the village, that in turn would have an impact on the province, that would in turn have an impact on the country, and in turn have an impact on the world. Finally, he came to the conclusion that by changing himself first, that would change his family, then his village, then his province, and then his country, and ultimately change the world. If you want to change the circumstances around you, first look within and begin changing or improving yourself. After all, is there anybody on this planet who can benefit from a little bit more self-improvement? And this reminds me of a quote by Rumi, which, by the way, Singer actually referenced in this section. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself. In the chapter Neither Suppression Nor Expression, Singer writes, there is a sacred place between suppression and expression, pure experience. In this state, you're neither suppressing the energy internally nor expressing it externally. You are simply willing to experience the energy coming from your heart and mind. I think it's magnificent to be able to live in that state in which every one of our experiences is viewed as a gift from God. And that allows us to expand our spirituality. If we could do that, peace and gratitude and joy would always be ours. And the good news is, that's the way God meant our life to be. Our job is to experience our spiritual heart by rising above the personal heart. It's possible by practicing checking if your heart's expressions are based on the current reality or thoughts from the past. Here's what Singer writes. Thoughts of what went wrong in the past and what might go wrong in the future create emotions that are out of tune with reality. There is no end to the mess they can create in your heart. Since the energies that build up in the heart must have a channel for release, these emotions will spill over into your external life and create quite a disturbance. And if we don't want to live in that disturbance, we have to take action to change how we see the world. Singer goes on to say, when both your heart and mind are in harmony with reality, energies don't release outwardly because nothing is blocking them. The deeper spiritual stages begin to unfold. Your actions are not personal in nature. They are simply beautiful moment-to-moment interactions with reality that are serving the flow of life. And when we allow these moment-to-moment interactions and embrace a willingness to release all of those past samskaras that have been blocking our heart, we begin to notice the deeper spiritual stage unfolding. And here's what Singer tells us. Your heart will do the work. All you need to do is allow the purification to take place. Listen to those words. Your heart will do the work. All you need to do is allow the purification to take place. Let us pause to remember that we all know the truth. There is one life. That life is God. And that life is our life right here and right now. And if we believe that, then we can indeed allow our heart to do the purification work. We can stop believing the world outside has to be a certain way for us to be okay, and we can venture to go beyond the human predicament. Singer's advice on how to do that? To get out of the predicament, you've got some work to do, and the work is on yourself. Yes, work on ourselves. It's the only way. And who wouldn't like a little more fine-tuning, right? Especially if it brings into our daily life that ever new joy. So in summary, how might you step fully into living untethered by going beyond the human predicament and stepping into ever new joy? Well, know that problems are solved from within. Don't blame the tomato for not thriving. Learn to discover the root causes of issues and find your ever new joy. Experience love springing from within. Notice what you resist persists, so let it go. Be at peace with your entire heart orchestra and willingly allow all energy to flow from your heart. Think of all experiences as gifts from God and allow your heart to do the purification work. So here's your affirmation for the week. How is it I so willingly, energetically, and effortlessly know problems are solved from within, am at peace with my entire heart orchestra, and allow my heart to do the purification work? And make a conscious choice this week to notice the tunes your heart orchestra is playing. Allow your heart to experience all of life as a gift from God. Let's pray. We take a deep, nourishing breath, and we move into our heart, and we listen to those orchestra strings tuning up and coming in to unity with each other. We know that God is love and God is joy. And that is who I am and who everyone watching this and who everyone on the planet happens to be. And what I know to be the truth is we can remember that we can solve our problems by going within and discovering the root causes, by letting go of all those stories that we've been telling, and by just living in this beautiful present moment now. So I am grateful that you have decided to spend some time with us today. I'm grateful for this opportunity to talk about living untethered. And it's with great gratitude that I release all of this into the divine yes, knowing it's already done, so I can say amen, and we can affirm it together. And so it is. And I'm very grateful to everyone who continues to donate and allow our community to keep moving forward. Enjoy our offertory song.